Hi guys, happy Tuesday. I hope you're doing well. To get us started, so I don't disappoint, I'll share one of my kids' toys with you as a show and tell of the week. They wanted me to share their Thanos gauntlet. I know I have some Marvel fans out there. In that case, you know that whoever possesses the gauntlet is inevitable. So unfortunately for you guys today, box and whisker plots are inevitable. It's actually one of my favorite lessons, so we'll get to that in a minute. In case you are missing our fun calendar of events from my desk at school, yesterday was Babe Ruth Day, the great Bambino, as they would say in Sandlot, and today is International Astronomy Day, so you can keep that in mind if you are ever on Jeopardy! So I will take us back to last week when we learned about box and whisker plots. There are those, and now that I have your attention because there's a candy bar on the screen, there are those weird looking graphs that used what we know about quartile 1, quartile 2, and quartile 3. We want to pretend that our data set is like a candy bar. So if we wanted to split our candy bar in half, we would do so in the middle. That would be Q2. We would take our lower half of the candy bar and split it again at Q1. And we would take our upper half of the candy bar and split it again at Q3. So our 3 cuts, which give us 4 equal sized pieces of candy bar. And that's a visual I really want you to keep in mind today, is the 4 equal sized zones or pieces of the candy bar on our box and whisker plot. So we're going to look at some examples here. Make sure our document camera is focused. Okay, so in this top box and whisker plot, we can tell a couple different things just by looking at it. We can see that the number of pets, the least number of pets that anyone owns in the class is 0, and I just made these numbers up. The highest number of pets owned by someone in the class is 6. That would give us a range of our data set of 6. 6 minus 0 is 6. We can tell Q1 is 1, Q2 is 2. We love when that happens, and Q3 is 4. That means we can tell the interquartile range just by looking at our box and whisker plot. Our interquartile range is also how big the box is on our graph. So 4 minus 1, or 3. Our IQR would be 3. And what we're going to focus on today is the 4 chunks or pieces or zones of our box and whisker plot. So where are these 4 pieces of the candy bar? Here's the first one, our left whisker. That's 1 piece. Here's the second piece, the left box. Here's the third piece, and the fourth piece, which would be our right whisker. So each one of them is like the piece of the candy bar. They don't look like they're equal sized, but they actually all contain the same amount of data values. Why are some bigger than others? That means the data in that group is more spread out. It has more variety. So for example, if there were 16 people in our class, 4 people would be between 0 and 1 for their pets. 4 people would own between 1 and 2 pets. 4 people would own between 2 and 4 pets. Notice how those were a little bit more spread out. And 4 people would own between 4 and 6 pets. So we could label them as 1/4 each. 1/4 of the class would be here. 1/4 of the class owns between 1 and 2 pets. 1/4 of the class is here, and 1/4 of the class is here. So you're going to use that fraction a lot today. We can even put those pieces together. 1/4 and 1/4 is 1/2. So we could say half of the class, 2 groups in between my fingers here. Oops, as I hit our camera. Half of the class is in between 0 and 2 pets. We could also say half the class has between 1 and 4 pets. See how there's 2 groups in between my fingers? And we could even say the top half of the class is between 2 and 6, so that's more spread out. We could say 3/4 of the class has between 1 and 6 pets. Where did I get 3/4 from? Well, if you look in between my fingers, there's 1, 2, 3 sections or 3 zones on our graph, and 3/4 put together makes 3/4. So 3/4 of the class would be between here and here. If we look down at this box and whisker plot about test scores, we can tell a lot of the same things, the low, the high, where our 3 quartiles would be. We can tell our range by subtracting these 2, and we can tell our interquartile range by subtracting these 2 numbers. And another way that we could say 1/4 is 25%. So we would say 25% of the class scored between an 86 and an 87 on this test. Another 25% scored in between an 87 and an 89. Another 25% scored between an 89 and a 90. And the top 25% scored between a 90 and a 92. So if we had 20 kids in the class, 5 would be in this group of scores, 5 students would be in between these two numbers, 5 students would be in this group, and 5 students would be in this top group, making 20 altogether. And again, we can use this is why box and whisker plots are pretty helpful, to make some conclusions about the group as a whole. So we could say 50% are between here and here, because that's two groups, a whisker and a box, at 25% each. We could say 50% is between here and here. This would be the bottom 50, and this would be the middle 50. This would be the top 50% of scores. We could say 75% of students scored below a 90, because there's 3 groups now between my fingers, 1 whisker and 2 boxes, 25% each. We can put those together to be 75%. So that's what you're going to see today. You'll get some more videos and notes and tutorials. I will leave you to it. I would just say to do your best work. Make sure if you have any questions that you ask me, feel free to send me an email during the day, and to look over the reminders within your assignment. When you're finished, make sure you get 5 points on Get More Math. And that's it. That's all she wrote.